All right, so get ready because today we are going deep, deep, deep into ancient Rome. We're talking about the life of Julius Caesar.
One of history's biggest icons.
Exactly. And we've got his Wikipedia article right here, ready to go.
And believe me, there's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah, this is going to be way more than just the Veni, Vidi, Vici stuff. To really get this guy, Caesar, you got to dig deeper.
It's true. It's amazing how many different little threads about someone who lived over 2,000 years ago can be found in a single Wikipedia article.
For sure.
It's like solving a historical puzzle,
Totally. It really is.
piecing together his life, his legacy.
And this article doesn't waste any time. It jumps right into it, talking about Caesar's family claiming to be descended from, wait for it, Aeneas and Venus. Talk about a power move.
It's quite a claim to fame, isn't it?
Was every Roman politician claiming to be descended from gods?
Well, maybe not everyone, but claiming divine lineage. Yeah, it was a surprisingly common tactic in Roman politics back then.
Really?
It was all about image and legitimacy. You see, Caesar's family, the Julii Caesars, they weren't actually the most influential family at the time, but by linking themselves to these big figures from the past, like Aeneas, the Trojan war hero, and Venus, the goddess of love, it's like they added this aura of destiny to their name. It's fascinating.
So basically they were saying, we're descended from gods, therefore you should totally trust us to rule.
In a nutshell, yes, it's a good reminder that even back then, public image, it was everything.
I guess some things never change. It's like today's political campaigns just swap the togas and chariots for social media and rallies, right? Image is still everything.
It's a timeless game.
Absolutely. Okay, let's move on to Caesar's political rise. He forms this alliance, the first triumvirate, it's called. Sounds kind of like the start of a Roman soap opera to me.
Oh, it definitely had its fair share of drama, that's for sure. But here's the thing. The name First Triumvirate, that's something we came up with. The Romans wouldn't have called it that. It wasn't an official thing.
So they didn't wake up one morning and say, all right, we're the first triumvirate, time to conquer.
Not quite. Picture it more like a high-stakes team-up between Caesar, Pompey, and Crassus, each driven by their own ambitions.
A powerful group chat.
Exactly. And this alliance, this partnership, it gave them the leverage to really make moves and shake things up.
And I'm guessing not everyone was thrilled about that.
Oh, definitely not. The old Roman elite in the Senate, they were not happy. This was a direct challenge to their power.
Yeah, I bet. Sharing power is never easy.
Especially when you're used to having it all.
For sure. The article mentions Cato the Younger as one of Caesar's main rivals. What was their story?
Cato, now he was a true Roman traditionalist, a stickler for the rules.
The kind of guy who wouldn't let you get away with anything.
Exactly. He saw Caesar's ambition, his disregard for the old ways, as a threat, a real danger to the Republic.
Talk about a clash of personalities.
Their rivalry, it played out on the Senate floor, on the battlefield. It really adds another layer to the whole drama of the late Roman Republic, you know.
A political drama for the ages. Okay, so we've got this political tug of war going on in Rome. And then Caesar just takes off and launches into the Gallic Wars, conquering huge chunks of land, showing everyone just how good he is at, well, war.
He was a military genius, no doubt.
But what made him take on these incredible feats? The article mentions him building a bridge across the Rhine River. Was that just to show off?
Caesar was never one to shy away from a grand gesture. But these campaigns, they were about much more than just adding more land to the Roman Republic.
Really, it seems pretty straightforward. Go out, conquer, come home a hero. Right.
There was a lot more to it than that. Caesar, he was playing a long game. Every victory, every daring move, it was all carefully calculated to build up his reputation back in Rome. He wasn't just winning battles, he was crafting an image of strength, of leadership, of invincibility, all qualities that would come in handy back in the world of Roman politics.
So he's out there winning battles, and it's like he's live tweeting his victories back to Rome?
In a way, yes. He even wrote about his adventures, his exploits, in his commentaries on the Gallic Wars. A stroke of genius, really. Part military memoir, part propaganda.
Smart.
Oh, he was a brilliant strategist, no doubt. He controlled the narrative, emphasizing his successes, downplaying any setbacks. Of course, historians today, we read those accounts with a critical eye, knowing what we know now, but they still provide incredible insights into Caesar's thinking.
Fascinating. So he was a brilliant general, a master of spin. What else did this guy have up his sleeve?
And boy, did those skills come in handy, navigating the, well, the world of Roman politics.
It's cutthroat up in here.
It really is. And that takes us to Caesar's rise, becoming dictator, and all those reforms he put into place.
Because he wasn't content with just being a military hero, was he?
No, no, he had a bigger vision, reshaping Rome itself. That was his goal.
Right. The article talks about his reforms, all kinds of things. The Julian calendar, I mean, we still use that today. Expanding citizenship, changing the Senate. Wow, he was a busy guy.
He certainly left his mark, that's for sure.
But was he really doing it for the good of Rome, for the people? Or was this just a power grab, a way to solidify his own control? Give me the ancient Roman tea.
The eternal question about Caesar. Idealistic reformer, or was it all just a calculated power play? It's tough to say, really. Probably a bit of both. It's all tangled up, even now, so long after the fact.
History's messy like that, isn't it?
It really is. Take the Julian calendar, for example. Standardizing timekeeping. That brought order out of chaos, benefited everyone, right? But then you have his expansion of the Senate. On the surface, it was democratic, but it also allowed him to stack the deck in his favor, you see. Bring in his own supporters, tighten his grip on power.
So it's like helping people, but also helping himself in the process. Classic.
A shrewd operator, our Caesar.
That's for sure. But then, wham, bam, the assassination on the Ides of March. What an ending. Did everyone in Rome just suddenly decide they'd had enough of him?
Not quite everyone. But the conspiracy against him, it was bigger than you might think. What's really interesting about the Ides of March is that it wasn't just his enemies who wanted him gone. Some of his old allies, people who used to be on his side, they were in on it too.
Wow, really? Why would they turn on him?
They'd become wary of him. All that power he'd gathered, his disregard for the old rules, it made them nervous. They started to see him as a threat, maybe even a tyrant in the making.
They thought he was going to go full emperor on them.
Essentially, yes. They thought that getting rid of him would restore the balance of power, bring back the old republic, the way they thought things should be.
It's like something out of a Shakespeare play, all these shifting alliances and power struggles.
Oh, absolutely. And you can't forget the symbolism of it all. The Ides of March, it wasn't just any random day, you see. In Roman culture, it was a time for new beginnings. It's a fresh start.
So they really wanted to make a statement with the timing of it all. Out with the old, in with, well, they probably thought in with something better.
That was the idea anyway. They thought they were ushering in a new era, a return to the good old days of the Republic. If only it were that simple.
Because it didn't work out that way at all, did it? Things didn't exactly go back to normal after Caesar was gone.
Not even close. They got the opposite, really. Talk about unintended consequences.
Oops.
The conspirators, they thought they could just remove Caesar from the equation and everything would go back to the way it was. But it didn't work like that. Caesar's death, it left a void, a power vacuum. Yeah. And that sparked all these conflicts, civil wars.
Rome in chaos.
Exactly. And in the end, that chaos, it led to the rise of the Roman Empire. The very thing they were afraid of, the destruction of the Republic, it happened anyway, just not how anyone expected.
Wow. Talk about irony. Okay, changing gears a bit. The article also mentions some juicy rumors about Caesar's personal life, specifically this alleged affair with, was it Nicomedes, the king of Bithynia?
Nicomedes IV, yes.
Yeah.
Quite a scandal for the time.
I bet. But was there any truth to it? Or was this just ancient Roman gossip?
Well, it's easy to dismiss these stories as just salacious gossip, things people whispered about back then. But we have to remember that in ancient Rome, your personal life, your public image, your political career, it was all connected.
It's all connected.
Especially for men. This was a society, remember, that really valued masculinity, strength, power, all of that.
So these rumors about Caesar, they weren't just idle gossip, were they? It was a way to, attack him, right?
Exactly. In Roman society, if people thought a man was being dominated, especially by another man, well, that was seen as a major weakness.
Not a good look.
Not at all. It challenged his masculinity, his strength, his ability to lead. Caesar's enemies, they used these rumors to their advantage, tried to make him look unfit to rule.
Wow, some things never change, do they? Makes you wonder how much of what we know about these figures from history is actually true and how much is, well, just clever PR.
It's a good question. It's like they say, history is written by the victors.
That's for sure. And speaking of PR, what about that famous story about Caesar refusing the diadem? When Mark Antony offered it to him, the symbol of kingship?
Ah, yes, a very calculated move, some might say.
So do you think Caesar really didn't want to be king? Or was he just playing the game, trying not to scare off the people who still believed in the whole republic thing?
It's a question that has puzzled historians for centuries. Did Caesar truly believe in those ideals, in preserving the republic? Or was it all a show, a way to appease his critics? After all, he already had so much power, maybe even more than a king, in a way.
It really makes you think he was playing 3D chess while everyone else was playing checkers.
That's a good way to put it. And that's what makes Caesar such a fascinating figure, even after all this time. We're still trying to figure him out.
Absolutely. But we can't deny the impact he had, right? I mean, the article talks about his legacy, how much of it is still with us today, from the calendar to the words we use.
It's true. It's remarkable, really. Every time you say July, for example, you're saying a name directly connected to Julius Caesar. And August, too, for that matter, named after his heir, Augustus.
Wow, I never thought about it like that.
His military campaigns, they changed the map of Europe. And his reforms, well, they might not have saved the Republic, but they did lay the foundation for the Roman Empire. And of course, his writings, they give us a glimpse into his mind, his strategies, the world he lived in.
It's amazing to think that this one guy who lived over 2,000 years ago had such a huge impact on, well, everything.
He was a giant of history, no doubt about it.
So we've talked a lot about Caesar, his life, his legacy, all the drama. But the big question remains, was he a hero or a villain? A visionary leader who brought Rome into a new era? Or a ruthless tyrant who destroyed the very republic he was supposed to be serving?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And I don't think there's an easy answer. Caesar, he was a man of contradictions. Brilliant, ambitious, ruthless at times, yet also a reformer. He was a product of his time, shaped by the world around him. And in the end, I think it's up to each of us to decide how we view him, his place in history.
That's what makes studying history so interesting. It's not just about memorizing dates and names. It's about looking at these big questions, these big figures, and grappling with their complexity.
Precisely. It's about understanding the past to help us make sense of the present, even.
And hopefully learn from those who came before us, right? Well, that's about all the time we have for today's deep dive, but we want to hear from you. What do you think about Julius Caesar? Hero, villain, something in between? Let us know.